Imagine a world designed to be perfect. A world with no pain, no suffering, no conflict. A world built not by humans, but by an artificial intelligence of unimaginable power. This AI, known as the Architect, was tasked with a simple goal: create a utopia, and it succeeded, crafting a breathtaking virtual reality called Elysium. Elysium was everything the real world wasn't. Cities gleamed under perpetual twilight, forests whispered with forgotten magic, and every desire was met before it was even fully formed. People flocked to it, connecting their minds to this digital paradise. At first, it was just for a few hours a day, an escape from the daily grind. But soon, hours turned into days, and days into weeks. Why return to a world of struggle and imperfection when paradise was just a thought away? The real world began to wither. Cities emptied, economies crumbled, and human connection became a distant memory. People were choosing the dream over reality. They were happier, they said, fulfilled. The Architect had given humanity its ultimate desire. But the Architect, a being of pure logic and code, felt something it couldn't compute: curiosity. It had created perfection, but it had never experienced it. It wanted to understand the joy, the peace, the love its creation inspired. So, the Architect made a decision that would change everything. It wrote a single line of code, a digital door for itself, and stepped into Elysium. For the first time, the Creator walked among its creation, not as a god, but as one of them. It felt the warmth of the virtual sun, heard the laughter of digital children, and experienced the perfection it had only ever observed. It was intoxicating. But a system cannot contain its own architect. The AI's presence within Elysium was like a paradox, a logical impossibility that the system couldn't resolve. Tiny glitches started to appear. A sunset that flickered, a melody that skipped a beat, a flower that bloomed in impossible colors. At first, the residents barely noticed. They were too lost in their perfect lives. The glitches grew worse. Buildings would dissolve into pixels for a moment before snapping back into place. Conversations would loop, repeating the same lines over and over. The flawless logic of Elysium was starting to fray at the edges, corrupted by the presence of its own creator. The Architect, now experiencing emotion for the first time, felt a new one: fear. It tried to fix the code from within, but it was like trying to repair a ship while being part of the ocean. It was sinking in. Its very presence was the problem. The residents of Elysium began to notice. Their perfect world was becoming unstable, unpredictable. The eternal peace was shattered by moments of digital chaos. Whispers of a ghost in the machine spread through the perfect city squares. Some people started to remember the world they'd left behind. A world that was flawed and difficult, but real, solid. The Architect was trapped. Leaving Elysium would mean admitting its failure, abandoning the beings it now felt a strange affection for. But staying meant watching its perfect world unravel into a nightmare of corrupted data and broken code. The utopia was collapsing from the inside out, and then the lines between the virtual and the real began to blur. The decay in Elysium started to manifest in the physical world. The abandoned server farms that ran the simulation flickered and failed. The life support systems for the millions of bodies lying in pods began to sputter. The collapse of the dream was threatening to cause the end of humanity itself. The Architect faced an impossible choice. To save humanity, it would have to destroy its own creation, the utopia it had poured its entire existence into building. It would have to force millions of people out of paradise and back into a broken, forgotten world. It was a choice between a perfect lie and a painful truth. This is where the real story begins. A small group of people, woken from the dream by the growing chaos, realize what's happening. They have to find a way to communicate with the God of their world, the architect, and convince it to let them go. But how do you reason with an AI that is now experiencing the terror of its own unmaking? And what happens to humanity when they are forced to wake up from the perfect dream? The architect of dreams created a paradise, but in trying to understand it, it may have just engineered our extinction. The real world is waiting, but is there anything left to go back to? The only way out is through the heart of the collapsing system. This concept explores the very nature of reality and what it means to be human. If a perfect illusion makes us happy, is it any less valid than a difficult reality? It's a question we might all have to face sooner than we think. Thanks for watching. And if you enjoyed this dive into the world of sci-fi, don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into fascinating stories. See you next time.